Tonight, you're going to buy something. A coffee, a meal, a tap on your phone, money vanishes. You won't think twice. But for 99.9% of human history, that transaction didn't exist. No cash, no cards, no price tags. If you wanted something, you traded a tool, a hide, or a promise. The idea of a single object being worth more than a country? Ludicrous. So how did we get from swapping animal hides to a handbag worth $10 million? How did we go from bartering salt and livestock to a yacht made of solid gold? The answer changes everything we think we know about value, wealth, and what it means to be human. Let's start at the very top. The most expensive object ever created isn't something you can buy at auction. It's the International Space Station. Designed through a collaboration of NASA, Roscosmos, ESA, JAXA, and CSA, the ISS took nearly a decade to build. The total cost? $150 billion. That's not a price tag. That's the GDP of a small country, floating 250 miles above your head. But here's the catch. You can't buy it. It belongs to all of humanity. It's a collective achievement, a symbol of what we can accomplish when we work together. But it's not for sale. So what's the most expensive thing one person can actually own? That brings us to the History Supreme Yacht. This 100-foot vessel is valued at $4.8 billion. To put that in perspective, Jeff Bezos's superyacht, the Y721, is over 400 feet long and cost a mere $500 million. The History Supreme is smaller, but it's made entirely of solid gold and platinum. Every structural element, from the deck to the anchor, is crafted from precious metals. It took 3 years to design and build. The owner is believed to be Robert Kwok, the Malaysian billionaire behind the Shangri-La Hotel empire. He didn't just buy a boat. He bought a floating treasure chest, a monument to wealth so vast, it's almost incomprehensible. But yachts are just the beginning. Because the most expensive things on Earth aren't always the biggest. Sometimes they fit in the palm of your hand. Take the Pink Star Diamond. In 2017, this 59.6-carat fancy vivid pink diamond sold at auction in Hong Kong for $71.2 million. It's the most expensive diamond ever sold. Why? Because pink diamonds are incredibly rare, and this one is internally flawless. But here's the thing, it's just carbon, compressed carbon, subjected to immense heat and pressure over billions of years. The same carbon that makes up pencil lead. But because it's rare, because it's beautiful, we assign it a value that could feed a small nation for a year. Diamonds aren't the only tiny objects with giant price tags. In 2014, Lawrence Graff, the chairman of Graff Diamonds, unveiled the Graff Hallucination Watch. It's set with over 110 carats of diamonds in various shapes and colors. The price? $55 million. It's not a watch. It's a piece of jewelry that happens to tell time. Then there's the Chopard 201-carat watch, set with 874 individual gems, including 3 heart-shaped diamonds weighing 11 to 15 carats each. The price tag is $25 million. These aren't timepieces. They're wearable museums, designed to be seen, admired, and envied. But here's where things get really interesting. Because the most expensive objects aren't always made of gold and diamonds. Sometimes they're made of paint and canvas. In 2017, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi sold for $450.3 million. It's the most expensive work of art ever sold at auction. The painting depicts Christ as the savior of the world. But here's the twist, it's heavily restored. And its attribution to da Vinci is questionable. Many scholars believe Leonardo only painted a portion of it, with the rest completed by his studio assistants. Yet it sold for nearly $500 million. Why? Because art isn't just about beauty. It's about scarcity, history, and the stories we tell ourselves. The painting was purchased by Russian oligarch Dmitry Rybolovlev, who later accused his art dealer of overcharging him by over $1 billion for several works, including Salvator Mundi. The painting's value isn't just in its brushstrokes. It's in the drama surrounding it. But Salvator Mundi isn't the only painting with a jaw-dropping price. Paul Cézanne's The Card Players was sold to the royal family of Qatar for an estimated $250 to $275 million. Gustav Klimt's portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer I sold for $135 million in 2006. And Picasso's Garçon à la pipe sold for $104 million in 2004. These aren't just paintings. They're investments. They're status symbols. They're pieces of cultural heritage that billionaires use to park their wealth. As one article put it, in times of stock market volatility and currency devaluation, the super rich are increasingly turning to tangible assets, paintings that appreciate faster than real estate, stocks, or bonds. Art has become a hedge against uncertainty, a way to store value that transcends borders and governments. Then there are the cars. In 2022, a 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe sold for $142.4 million. It's the most expensive car ever sold. Why? Because only two were ever made. Scarcity. Rarity. That's the secret ingredient. It's the same reason a first edition comic book can sell for millions, or a rare stamp can be worth more than a house. We place value on things that are hard to obtain. It's basic supply and demand. But it's also something deeper. We want what others can't have. We want to own something unique, something that sets us apart from the crowd. But the most expensive substance on Earth isn't gold, platinum, or diamonds. It's antimatter. Antimatter is estimated to be worth $62.5 trillion per gram. That's not a typo. Trillion. With a T. Why so expensive? Because producing a single gram of antimatter requires a particle accelerator the size of a small city and enough energy to power a country. It's not something you can buy. It's something you can barely create. And then there's the nitrogen atom-based endohedral fullerene, developed by Oxford scientists, valued at $140 million per gram. It has applications in advanced GPS systems and atomic clocks. These aren't luxury goods. They're the building blocks of the future. But they're also a reminder that value is weird. We assign worth to things based on utility, rarity, and sometimes just because we can. Now let's talk about the things that really make you think. A handbag, Jane Birkin's original Hermes Birkin, sold for $10.1 million in 2025. It's a scuffed, sticker-covered black leather prototype from 1984. It's not even in perfect condition, but it's the most expensive handbag ever sold at auction. Why? Because it's the original. It's the one that started it all. And that story is worth $10 million. A domain name, insure.com, sold for $16 million. A 14-foot tiger shark preserved in formaldehyde by artist Damien Hirst sold for $8 million. A crystal piano made by Heinzmann sold for $3.2 million. These aren't just objects. They're ideas. They're stories. They're symbols. And here's the thing we don't talk about enough. For 300,000 years, your ancestors lived without any of this. They didn't have yachts made of gold. They didn't have paintings worth $500 million. They didn't have handbags that cost more than most people will earn in a lifetime. They had fire. They had each other. They had stories told around the campfire. And they had something we've lost. They had perspective. They knew that value wasn't about price tags. It was about survival. It was about community. It was about the stories that connected them to the past and the future. We've traded all of that for objects. We've convinced ourselves that a diamond is worth $71 million because it's rare. But rarity doesn't make something valuable. Value is a story we tell ourselves. And the most expensive objects in the world are just the most expensive stories. Think about it. A diamond is just carbon. A painting is just canvas and pigment. A yacht is just fiberglass and metal. We assign meaning to these things. We give them power. And then we chase them as if they hold the secret to happiness. But do they? Studies show that once basic needs are met, money doesn't buy happiness. The correlation between wealth and well-being plateaus. Billionaires aren't significantly happier than millionaires. Millionaires aren't significantly happier than the average person. Yet we continue to chase these objects, these symbols of success, as if they'll fill some void inside us. It's a collective delusion. We're all complicit in it. We see a price tag and we think, that must be valuable. But valuable to whom? For what purpose? There's a term for this. It's called the Veblen effect, named after economist Thorstein Veblen. It's the phenomenon where people buy expensive items not for their utility, but for their status. The higher the price, the more desirable the object becomes. It's a reversal of normal market logic. In most cases, when the price goes up, demand goes down. But with luxury goods, the opposite happens. The price rises, and demand rises with it. Because the price itself is the point. It's a signal. It says, I can afford this. You can't. It's a way of distinguishing yourself from the masses. It's a way of saying, I've made it. But what happens when everyone can afford something? It loses its value. That's why diamonds are marketed as rare, even though they're not. That's why limited editions exist. That's why luxury brands burn unsold inventory rather than discount it. Because value is fragile. It depends on perception. And perception can be manufactured. Consider the story of the diamond industry. For most of history, diamonds were relatively common. But in the late 1800s, a cartel called De Beers consolidated control over the world's diamond supply. They artificially restricted supply to keep prices high. And then they launched the most successful marketing campaign in history. A diamond is forever. They convinced the world that diamonds were essential for engagement, that they represented love and commitment. And it worked. Today, diamonds are synonymous with marriage. And the price remains artificially inflated. It's not the stone that's valuable. It's the story. Same with luxury handbags. Hermès doesn't just sell bags. They sell exclusivity. You can't just walk into a store and buy a Birkin. You have to be on a list. You have to have a relationship with the brand. You have to prove you're worthy. And that exclusivity drives demand through the roof. People pay $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 for a bag that costs a few hundred to make. They're not paying for leather and stitching. They're paying for access. They're paying for status. They're paying for the story. And this brings us to the most important question of all. What is value? Is it intrinsic or is it constructed? Is a diamond worth $71 million because of its physical properties, or because we've decided it is? The answer, of course, is both. There's a physical reality to these objects. Diamonds are hard. Gold is conductive. Paintings are beautiful. But the price tag goes far beyond the physical. It's about what the object represents. It's about power. It's about legacy. It's about the human need to matter. We want to be remembered. We want to leave a mark. And in a world where we're all going to be forgotten eventually, we cling to objects that we hope will survive us. We buy paintings that will hang in museums long after we're gone. We buy watches that will be passed down through generations. We buy yachts that will outlive us. These objects are our immortality projects. They're our way of saying, I was here. I mattered. But here's the truth. They don't matter. Not really. The universe is 14 billion years old. The Earth is 4.5 billion. In 100 years, almost everyone alive today will be dead. In 1,000 years, civilization as we know it may be gone. In 1,000,000 years, humanity itself may be extinct. And what will remain of a diamond? A compressed carbon crystal. What will remain of a yacht? A pile of rust. What will remain of a painting? Dust. We assign meaning to these objects, but meaning is temporary. It's a story we tell ourselves to make our brief lives feel significant. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the point isn't that objects are meaningless. Maybe the point is that we get to choose what's meaningful. We get to decide what's valuable. And if we decide that a diamond is valuable, then it is. If we decide that a painting is priceless, then it is. Value is a collective agreement. It's a social contract. And like all social contracts, it can be rewritten. So when you see a price tag that seems absurd, remember this. That number isn't real. It's a story. And like all stories, it says more about the people telling it than the object itself. The most expensive objects in the world are just the most expensive stories. They're tests of our imagination. They're mirrors of our desires. They're reflections of who we are and who we want to be. We created this world of billion-dollar yachts and million-dollar handbags. We can choose to see it for what it is. A story. Just a story. A story about power and status and the desperate human need to matter. And when we see it for what it is, we're free. We're free to stop chasing. We're free to stop comparing. We're free to ask ourselves what truly matters. And the answer, as it's always been, is not in the things we own. It's in the moments we share, the people we love, the lives we touch. Those are the things that are truly priceless. Those are the things that no amount of money can buy. Everything else, just a number.